Hey, nice to see you again. This time I want to talk about the goals we set, the dreams we have, and if you are succeeding. Do you feel like you're failing or succeeding in all these dreams you have to get into the world of music, to become a professional musician, singer, rock star, whatever it is that you want to do? One of my favorite words that I hang on to is being realistic. It's the for me the whole basic foundation to understanding who I am, what I do, and what's possible for me to do with my life and possible career. Because if you're unrealistic, and I met a lot of people who are, it's great to have huge dreams and set amazing goals for yourself, but are they realistically possible, or are they just dreams that are sparkling inside of you, that it would be just as amazing as winning $1 billion on the lotto? Well, yeah, you can probably win $1 billion, but realistically, the chances are pretty small. But if you set your goals that, you would be pretty happy with winning $100, that's realistically much more possible. So always set goals that are realistic. And to know that, you need to know who you are. And I'm 52 years old, and I love everything that has to do with space and all the rockets and stuff. And it would be pretty cool to go to space. But realistically, I think the chances are pretty small. So I'm not going to be calling NASA, anytime soon. So when I was a kid, I had big dreams because my grandmother taught me that if your dreams don't scare you, they're not big enough. So I always set really high goals for myself, but that also pushed me to, I had to figure out, how do I reach them? Because they're going to stay unrealistic goals unless I find a truthful way to actually achieve what I want to do. And that takes enormous hard work, 7 days a week, hours a day, and to learn the craft and to figure out all the secret doors how to get there. So I figured out that some of my dreams were unrealistic, or at least maybe too hard to reach, or maybe not even worth all the work it would take. So at least I was happy with having tried really hard, which is also a pretty good, because if you get half the way, you still got pretty far. So set realistic goals and understand what is possible for you to do. Do you have the patience that's required to reach your goals? A lot of younger people today, because of the way society is set up, have a much lower patience than people of my generation, because we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have internet, we had a few channels on the TV growing up here, and during the day it was basically nothing on it. You could watch TV during the evening and not even in the middle of the night. So after school, we would hang out and play sports or play music together, and we were not stuck with the phone inside, in front of our faces all the time, and stuck on the internet, And there's a lot of cool things about modern technology. I'm at this age stuck with the phone in front of me a lot, but I had more time, and because the tempo of the world was a bit slower, and we were used to things taking longer before they happened. If anything big happened, good or bad, back in the days, you had to wait for the next day in the newspaper, or you had to wait till evening to watch the news, Or if it was in the world of music, maybe your favorite pop rock magazine came out once a month, and they had part of the information or rumors and stuff. So we knew how to wait for things. So getting to where your dreams and goals live, it's gonna take a long time. I mean, there's the 10,000 hour routine. They say that to become good enough to actually make it in certain things, you need to practice for at least 10,000 hours. So you do the math yourself. If you have 2 hours a day of free time to practice, and maybe you can do that 5 days a week, that means that you can do it for 10 hours a week. So how many weeks will it take for you to reach 10,000 hours? And it's not like when you hit 10,000, all your dreams are going to become real. But to become really, really good at something, it takes a long time, and that takes patience. So the trick is to find out in your soul, why are you doing what you do? Is it to become a rich superstar and you want everyone to love you because you're a star? Yeah, well, maybe you can get there faster by doing something that's, cheaper or cheesier and more shallow. But if you want to become a serious musician or songwriter or producer, you need to learn the craft, because no one's going to work with you if you're not good enough. And to be good enough, it's going to take a long time to learn the craft. So understand how much patience you have, because it's going to take you years to become good enough. Also, if you truly, truly love doing what you do, it doesn't matter how long it takes, because it's not a competition. I've played guitar for 47 years. I don't practice anymore. I don't think I have to. I haven't done that for many years, but I work all the time. So I pretty much play guitar for a few hours every day. And I love taking the guitar. I love doing my work. I love playing the guitar. It's still my big passion, my big hobby that turned into a job. So but all these years when I was a kid, I didn't practice because I had to. I couldn't stop playing because I felt almost sick if I didn't play. That was my passion. So patience came easy for me. And that's usually the case with people that become professional musicians. And this goes hand in hand with, are you doing what you do for the right reason? Which is what you said. Are you doing this? There's nothing bad in wanting to become a superstar and major rock star or whatever it is you want to be. There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever makes you happy and whatever fits your goals in life, go for it. But you need to find out what the true reason is that you're doing this. If it is, like in my case, I figured out early in my career that I didn't want to become a rock star. Even though my first band got signed to a major label and we started appearing in all the big pop and rock magazines, and it was a cool feeling when you're 14, 15, 16 years old to see yourself in all of these magazines. And for a short while, I thought it was my dream to become a guitar hero and a rock star. But I quickly listened to my heart and soul that kept telling me that I didn't want to be stuck playing hard rock for the rest of my life in one band, and that would be it. I wanted to play all styles of music. I wanted to make albums. I wanted to be a studio musician. I wanted to be a songwriter and produce stuff. So luckily I figured out when I was 15, 16 that I want to be a working musician, a working person in the world of music. So I got off the rock star train early on, and I'm so happy about it because I never stopped working, and the career keeps going better and better every year because I made that right decision. I figured out what my purpose of doing this is. I did it for the right reason. Do you live in the right or the wrong place to make your dreams happen? I'm back living in this small town north of Stockholm here in Sweden where I grew up. it was impossible for me when I was young to stay here if I was really gonna go for the dreams that I had. I wanted to work in America. I wanted to work, even in Sweden. I wanted to work on bigger projects than my little town could offer me. So first of all, I had to spend much more time in Stockholm, which is not that hard because I only lived like 30, 40 minutes away with the train. So it was easy when I was a kid. But when I started getting into the business here, it felt like my dreams and my goals were bigger. So I ended up going to America around 1985 when I was like 17 years old. And then in 1987, I was 19, I moved to Los Angeles to really take all my dreams to a place where it was possible to make them a reality. Again, when I got there, I was very realistic about my chances of getting into the studio world. And what I did, I knocked on the door and was actually introduced by friends to the A-list of studio musicians in Los Angeles in the 80s, all of the top players, and became friends with many of them. And many of them were so nice to answer all my questions about what's required. And a few of them even took me along to see what it takes to do sessions. So I got to tag along with some of the top names to watch them do sessions and to see if it was something that I was capable of or not. And again, realistically finding my place. But I had to move for my dreams to become a reality. So yeah, you have internet these days, which makes the world smaller and you can do things from almost anywhere. But do you actually live where it's possible for your dreams to become a reality? Are you fully aware of what's happening in music today and within the styles of music that you want to work with or do work with? We tend to get stuck in a safe position, and which can be fine. I've done hundreds of these 80s type of melodic rock albums, and they're not supposed to sound 2020 or something for the future. They're supposed to sound like 80s rock albums, and that's what these fans want. So if I wanted to, I could safely just stay in that zone. It's not a lot of money to be made in this music anymore, not like in the 80s when there was huge money. But it's a safe zone. But I'm far from happy with staying in that zone. I want to work with anything that's on the radio and on the charts these days. So how do I do that? Well, every week I study, I really pay attention, and I listen to everything that's on the pop charts and on the country charts and even in rock and hard rock and stuff. I pay attention to the details of all the sounds and styles and everything. I produce a lot, and I like producing in all kinds of styles. So I can't use sounds that sound very 90s for a modern production today in a soul or R&B pop song, whatever. I need to understand what the latest sounds are, and every part of this requires a lot of time and money and effort to get all of the things together and learn it and be able to use with it. So I don't cheat and fake my way around it. I try to be good enough that I can actually do it well. And if I don't, I'm not going to get any work. And luckily I get work, so I hope it means that I'm actually doing it good enough. Do you have the right gear for the work you're doing or the work you want to do? Doesn't matter if it's owning a studio or being a musician. Do you have the right guitars or basses or the latest keyboards? Do you have a great setup for drums or whatever it is? Do you have the correct gear to compete on the right level? I mean, if you're going to be a studio musician, you need to sound as good as the work that's out there today. If you're going to be in a band, you need to have a setup of gear that's actually sounding great and you know it well, and it can take the beating of touring a lot, and of course we can't tour right now, but that's gonna come back. But you need to know that you have the proper gear to do things. And for me, running a studio, my studio has never been smaller than it is today, but again, it's never sounded better, because there are so many ways of having digital gear that sounds like the old school analog stuff these days. And it's almost all of it is inside of a computer. And even my guitar gear is just a Kemper amp with a couple of expression pedals, but I do everything with built-in effects in the Kemper and plugins, and I've never had a better guitar sound. So there are ways to do this, but again, I had to study and find out, and through trial and error and paying attention and everything, I put together stuff that really works well for me today. Are you charging the right amount for the work you do? Because back in the day, studio musicians, they were on a scale, and you would be on a triple scale, meaning you were earning this amount of money per hour, and they booked you for 3-hour blocks, 3-hour sessions. So if they can get everything out of you in 3 hours, you would go in, even if it took half an hour or 2.5 hours. They had you for 3 hours to do the thing, and they paid you for 3 hours. I've noticed some pretty famous studio musicians in Sweden that during the big days in their career, they were paid pretty good money every day. But times change and trends change, and new people come along, and the whole music industry is not paying nearly what it used to do in the good old days, because it's a different world today. So a lot of these people kept charging the same high amounts, and they lost more and more and more work. And some even got pretty bitter about it because they didn't understand why. And I've gone the other way my whole career. I mean, we all love making good money, but I don't work for money. I work for the passion of doing this. But I need to get paid enough so I can pay my bills, because it's still my job. And there's a funny old saying in the world of rock and roll, that you come to the landlord in the end of the month and you say, okay, here's the deal. I can't pay them the rent this month, but you have no idea how much fucking fun we had this month. So it's been a lot of that mentality. We have a lot of fun with what we do, and I don't mind working for free or very cheap for friends or charities and this and that. It's as long as it's something that's musically fine, it's not a problem. And if I have the time. But I still need to make enough work so I can pay my bills and feed a family, because it is my job. So a lot of times it's smarter to charge a little less and have more work than being somebody who says, I think I'm worth this amount of money and pay me. Because, yeah, I mean, if you're that good and they pay you, great. If you become pretty famous, they're going to pay you even more. Great. There's nothing wrong with making money. But if you don't get enough work, but everyone keeps saying that you are really good and maybe you feel like I should have more work, well, lower the fees. For many, many years when I started out, because I got into studio work when I was really young, like 12, 13, 14, started with demos and then worked myself into album recordings. A lot of times when I was a kid, I would talk to a producer and say, I would love to work with you. I would love to play on something you do. You don't have to pay me. I'll get to the studio. I'll bring my gear. You don't have to pay me. I'm pretty fast in the studio, even though I was young. And they had very little to lose to have the kid come in and play something. And if they liked it and they kept it, well, a lot of these people called me back next time. And some of them didn't pay me the next time either, but I got to be on another album, so I started building a catalog of work. Some of these people said, you know what, I love what you did last time. This time you're going to get paid. So I started getting paid. But I started out offering my services for free. for a couple of years when I was a kid, just to get my foot in through the door. And slowly you start making money if you do a good enough job. One of the main things that I've seen with people who are super talented but not getting enough work is that they are shy or actually pretty bad at self-promoting. It is really tough to go out and sell yourself, because where is that line where you just offering your services, or you're a very egoistic, obnoxious person who's like, hey, look at me, take me. It's a fine line, but it's the key to a lot of the stuff we do today. You need to go out and meet people. I mean, it's harder this year. I'm talking in general. You can actually meet people via the internet, but you need to contact people. You need to make people aware that you are here. This is what you do, and you're really good at it, and you can offer all of these services, and it's not gonna cost them crazy money or this and that. But you need to self-promote, because if you don't, there's somebody else that's gonna take that job, and he or she might not be as good as you. Maybe that was your gig. And I've always been very, very direct with my approaching people, big artists, big producers, big famous people. When I meet them, and if there's somebody I want to work with, my thought is always, how can I make this person understand that we should work together? And many times it's as simple as just saying, hi, this is me. I've worked on a lot of stuff like this. I love what you do, and I would love to work with you on something. Maybe we can write a song. Maybe you need a guitar. Maybe something. And if you're lucky enough and they actually try you and you deliver something that's really good, they're going to keep you around. And it's just getting inside and then deliver the right things with a good attitude. And they're gonna have you in mind for coming projects. So if you don't ask, you're not even going to get a yes or a no, or they're not even going to know about you. So you need to self-promote, because this is a really brutal business. I've said this many times before. I'm far from the best guitar player on the planet. I don't read music. I have a good concept of the basic theory of chords and stuff. But I've really done my homework, and I'm not the kind of guy you put in a music store and hand a guitar and go, play everything that's super fast, cool, shredding, and impress everyone. That's not who I am. But if you give me a simple drum beat and 2 chords, I can come up with something that's going to sound really good. You put me in the studio, and I can come up with the perfect part for a song in most styles. I'm a working musician, knowing where I fit in. But I didn't get to where I am by sitting quietly and hoping that people would call me. I've gone after the work. I've created the life that I live. I created this. Nobody did it for me. I wake up every single day, still after almost 40 years. I always constantly write down ideas on my phone or on a piece of paper, or I have documents in my computer where I come up with a project idea, like starting a YouTube channel, whatever it is. And you do your homework, because even doing a small YouTube channel like this, and I hope it's going to grow, it still requires getting all the equipment, which can be $1,000 or $2,000, setting up everything you need to make everything work. And it's not going to happen by itself. So I need to do the work. And if I decide that I want to work with some famous artist and I realistically think I can do it, well, how do I make it happen? You need to find the perfect time to ask people, or, you need to read the person and the situation. But that's how I think. When I meet people that I really want to work with, I ask and see if it's possible. And a lot of famous musicians have done the same thing if they really want something. You know, if you get a no, well, at least you tried. If you get a yes, you're in. So if I don't say anything at all, nothing's going to happen, most of the cases. I know that I'm really good at what I do, and I do it for the right reasons, and that's why it's working. So go for your goals and understand how to realistically get to them. And I really, really wish you all the best in reaching all of them. So I'll see you soon again. Bye.